Hello and welcome to Business 360. I am Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Sensex Nifty give up gains after hitting record highs in early trade. Nifty ends below 25,400. IT stocks drag. Financials buck the downtrend. Investors await the first rate cut from the US Fed in 4 years. Later tonight, a CNBC survey shows 84% of market participants expect a 25 basis point cut and only 16% are expecting a 50 basis point cut. 9 people are dead and nearly 2,800 injured after pagers carried by Hezbollah operatives explode simultaneously across Lebanon. Israel planted explosives inside 5,000 pagers imported by Hezbollah a few months ago, according to a Reuters report citing sources. Israel is yet to comment on these explosions. Prime Minister Modi will visit the United States later this week to attend a Quad summit and address the UN General Assembly. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says that he will be meeting Prime Minister Modi, calls him a fantastic man, but criticizes India as a very big abuser of trade ties. Zee Entertainment refutes Star India's claim, seeking damages worth nearly 8,000 crore rupees over sharing cricket broadcasting rights for ICC tournaments. Star India has filed a case before the London Court of International Arbitration. "50% voter turnout in Jammu and Kashmir till 3 p.m. as 24 seats go to polls in phase 1 of the assembly elections. 219 candidates, including 90 independents, are in the fray. The National Conference and the Congress are in an alliance, while the BJP and the PDP are contesting solo. Union Cabinet makes a push for simultaneous elections, accepts the proposal tabled by a high-level committee led by former President Ramnath Kovind. Cabinet provides big fillip to space exploration, approves expansion of Chandrayaan4 Moon Mission and setting up an Indian space station, also approves the Venus Orbiter mission, clears 8,200 crore rupees to develop a new reusable launch vehicle. Fresh violence in Manipur's Jiribam district, even as curfew is relaxed in Imphal. Schools and colleges reopened and internet restored in the state capital after 10 days. Government halts the fencing work in Kuki-dominated areas bordering Myanmar. Well, let's begin with a quick look of all the market action. The Sensex and the Nifty hit record highs in early trade, but the rally fizzled out and both indices ended the day with marginal losses. IT stocks saw a sharp sell-off with the index losing 3%. This was the worst single-day decline in over a month. On the other hand, financial stocks bucked the downtrend with the Nifty Bank index ending with gains of 1%. Well, speaking of markets, here's a look at the global markets. The markets globally are expecting the US Federal Reserve to begin its long-awaited rate-cutting cycle later tonight, marking its first reduction in 4 years. Now, while there is near consensus that the Fed would definitely cut the benchmark rates currently at its highest level in 23 years, economists and investors are divided on the quantum of that rate cut. According to the CNBC Fed survey, 84% of the 27 respondents, including economists and strategists, anticipate a 25 basis point cut and forecast a more gradual approach to rate cuts. We reached out to some former US Federal Reserve officials to get a sense on what the quantum of rate cut could be.
There is also, though, something that worries me a little bit in that narrative, the notion that maybe the economy is a little weaker than it appears, and this is an insurance policy. Last time we talked, there was some discussion that you and I had about, well, gee, is the economy actually weaker than it appears? I fear that if they move 50 basis points, the notion that they know something that we don't know, as they say, i.e. the economy is weaker than we think, will start to take hold, and I think that's not an accurate narrative.
If it was completely up to me and I was just choosing, I would go 50. I'm more worried, a little bit more worried about the downside risk than the upside risk, but it's a very close call. And the point is, an important point is, I don't believe everybody on the Federal Open Market Committee thinks what I just said. I think you still have some hawkish sentiment on the committee, and that could drive Jay Powell to think 25 basis points is the way to hold the committee together, hopefully without dissent at all.
Well, you can catch a comprehensive coverage of the big Fed decision from 11:30 p.m. tonight only on CNBC TV 18. Well, here's the top global story today. 9 people, including a child, have been killed and more than 2,800 people have been injured after pagers reportedly used by members of Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah detonated simultaneously across Lebanon and in Syria. Reports have suggested that at least 200 people are critically injured. Lebanon's health ministry has put hospitals across the country on maximum alert. Hezbollah has held Israel fully responsible and called it the biggest security breach in its war with Tel Aviv and vowed retaliation. Israel declined to comment on this incident. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon is among the wounded, along with 2 embassy employees. Iran's foreign ministry has condemned the detonations as a terrorist operation. The U.S. government has said it was not aware of this incident in advance. According to a Reuters report citing Lebanese sources, Israel planted these explosives inside 5,000 pagers imported by Hezbollah a month ago. A Taiwan-based company named Gold Apollo has been linked to the pagers. The company said that, saying they were not involved in the production, and a Budapest-based company named BAC Consulting manufactured these devices. Gold Apollo claimed that they had an authorization agreement with Hungary-based company for the past 3 years. However, they did not show any proof of this agreement.
I don't have any details to provide on the reports of the pager blast. I can tell you, to my knowledge, there's no U.S. involvement in this at all. Again, it's something that we're monitoring. And in terms of potential escalation, I go back to what I said earlier in terms of a key focus for this department and the U.S. government writ large is on working with partners in the region, to include Israel, to prevent the conflict between Israel and Hamas from spiraling into a wider conflict. And that includes the tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border.
More international news. At least 1 person has died and 5 injured after Russia struck southeastern Ukraine. Russian forces have also fired at least 4 missiles at an energy infrastructure in the northeastern region of Ukraine, disrupting supplies for over 280,000 people in the region. Ukraine has said that its air force has shot down 34 of 51 Russian drones that were targeting 5 regions of the country. Meanwhile, Russia has also claimed that it has stopped new attempts made by Ukraine to push through its border into the Kursk region. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting the United States later this week. PM Modi is scheduled to attend the 4th Quad Leaders Summit and will have bilateral discussions on the sidelines. Further, Prime Minister is also expected to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Meanwhile, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has said that he will be meeting Prime Minister Modi during his U.S. visit. While addressing a rally, Trump described Modi as a fantastic man and also labeled India at the same time a very big abuser in trade ties.
So when India, which is a very big abuser, he happens to be coming to meet me next week, and Modi, he's fantastic. I mean, fantastic man. A lot of these leaders are fantastic. You have to understand one thing. They're 100%. These people are the sharpest people. They're not a little bit backward. They are at the top. You know the expression, they're at the top of their game, and they use it against us. But India is very tough.
Zee Entertainment has said it will strongly contest all the claims made by Star India for nearly 8,000 crore rupees in damages. The company also called Star's claims unfounded and added that the arbitration was an initial stage. This move comes after Star India filed a statement of case before London Court of International Arbitration seeking damages over sharing of TV broadcast rights of ICC cricket matches. And shares of Reliance Infrastructure hit upper circuit today after the company announced that it has pared down its debt by 88% to 475 crore rupees. In an exchange filing, the company has said that Invent ARC, a lender to the Reliance Infra, has innovated certain charges, securities to recover its dues. And Amazon has named Samir Kumar as the country manager for India. Along with managing India, he will continue to lead Amazon's consumer business in Middle East, South Africa and Turkey. This comes after Manish Tiwari put down his papers in August to pursue opportunities outside of the company. Tiwari was leading Amazon India for the last 8 years. And the Union Cabinet has approved the proposals tabled by a high-level committee led by former President Ramnath Kovind on simultaneous elections. Union Minister Vaishnav, while making this announcement, said that the government will form a panel to implement these reforms, which was one of the BJP's top manifesto promises. Vaishnav said that the government will aim to build a consensus over the next few months.
सभी जो दूसरे जितने भी फेडरेशंस ग्रुप्स हर एक तरह की जो सोशल ग्रुप्स हैं उन सब का हम आह्वान करते हैं कि आप सभी इस पॉइंट को डिटेल में डिस्कस कीजिए, साइंटिफिक वे में डिस्कस कीजिए, कैसे वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन से इकोनॉमी को फायदा होगा, कैसे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को फायदा होगा, कैसे देश की प्रगति बढ़ेगी, कैसे देश का डेवलपमेंट बढ़ेगा, कैसे ब्लैक मनी का संचार कम होगा, कैसे कितने मल्टीपल इसके जो इम्पैक्ट्स हैं उन सब के ऊपर डिस्कशन करें और एक इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ग्रुप उसके बाद में डेवलप क्रिएट किया जाएगा जिससे जो लीगल प्रोसेसेस हैं उन प्रोसेसेस से इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे।
ये देखिए, ये प्रैक्टिकल नहीं है और ये चलने वाला नहीं है। ये सिर्फ चुनाव जब आते कोई ना कोई कुछ मुद्दा नहीं मिल रहा उनको, ऐसी चीजें बात करने के लिए, इश्यू को डाइवर्ट करने के लिए वो बात करते हैं और इसीलिए और पूरे देश के लोग कोई मानने वाले भी नहीं हैं।
को कैबिनेट की मंजूरी एक स्वागत योग्य निर्णय है। बार बार जो थोपे जा रहे थे चुनाव, उससे देश को निजात मिल पाएगा और राजकीय कोष पर जो ये भार था वो काफी हद तक कम हो सकेगा। योजनाओं की निरंतरता बनी रहेगी, नीतियां बदस्तूर जारी रहेंगी, पारदर्शिता बढ़ेगी और लोग मतदान केंद्रों में बड़ी संख्या में आ सकें।
Well, joining us now for more on this is my colleague Parikshit Luthra. Parikshit, a big step taken today, a big announcement coming in from Ashwini Vaishnav announcing the government's agenda about holding simultaneous elections. We heard some of the opposition leaders clearly not impressed with this idea. How is the government seeking to implement it? How is the government seeking to go about this initiative?
Well, over the last few days, there had been speculation and certain ministers had also gone on record to say that this government will implement one nation, one election within the term of NDA 3.0. And now here you have the Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, after the cabinet briefing, making it very clear that the recommendations of the high-level committee by former President Ramnath Kovind have been accepted vis-a-vis one nation, one election. So this is what they've essentially said, that we will now have one nation, one election in two phases. In the first phase, the government will try to have simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies. And in the second phase, that is 100 days after the general elections, you will have simultaneous elections to municipalities and panchayats in the country. Now, all of this would require legislative and constitutional amendments, which had also been recommended in the 18,000-page report by the Ramnath Kovind-led committee. Now, what the government will have to do now, and what Ashwini Vaishnav has also indicated, that they will try and move ahead with consensus. They will try to take states on board because they will need the support of states to implement this at a pan-India level. Also, you will need to have a common electoral roll to ensure simultaneous elections. There again, you will need amendments, the support and ratification by state governments. You will need all state electoral bodies to be on board. And this also needs a massive law and order exercise to ensure that adequate security preparations are made. You have adequate security personnel placed for such a massive exercise. How is the government justifying this? The government is justifying this on the basis of the Ramnath Kovind report, saying that this is needed for higher growth of the country, constant elections hamper the working of a democracy and decision making, and that's why this will be good for the country's finances as well. Let's see what happens. We're seeing some very sharp opposition from the Congress party, the TMC, the left. Let's see how the government's move towards building consensus on this takes place and takes shape over the coming weeks.
Right, Pariksha, thanks a lot for that. A big announcement coming out of the cabinet. But speaking of the cabinet, it has also provided a big fillip to space exploration. It has approved expansion of Chandrayaan4 Moon Mission and setting up an Indian space station. It has also approved the Venus Orbiter mission and cleared 8,200 crore rupees to develop a new reusable launch vehicle.
So if you have to send man right now, we can't do that. We need to go step by step. So that is primarily the Chandrayaan4 mission goal. Now you talked about the Bharati Antariksha Station. Yes, there is a definite timeline. The goal given to us by Honorable Prime Minister is that we must have a full-fledged station by 2035. So our plan here is to launch the first module of the Bharati Antariksha Station called BAS-1 by 2028.
Well, time now for a short break, but coming up, 50% voter turnout in Jammu and Kashmir till 3 p.m. as 24 seats go to elections in phase 1 of the assembly polls. Details when we come back. Welcome back. Over. The first phase of elections has begun, and the voter turnout as of 3 p.m. had crossed the has this ground report.
Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing its first polls after the abolition of Article 370, and these polls are taking place after a gap of 10 years. Last polls were seen in 2014 when the assembly election took place, but later on in 2017, BJP and PDP government fell, which resulted in direct rule of the centre. Then after that, we have seen now elections taking place. In between, there was abolition of Article 370 and J&K was divided into 2 union territories. The key competition this time is between the National Conference and Congress combined versus the PDP, BJP and several other political parties were floated following the abolition of Article 370. Now, there's a twist to the story. That jail engineer from the Baramulla has come out of the jail, who has been accused of being a proxy of the BJP by the mainstream regional political parties. Though he has been making rallies in parts of North and South Kashmir where people are drawn in numbers, he's expected to create an impact in these elections as well, like he upset Umar Abdullah during the recently held Lok Sabha elections. But one more interesting fact about these elections is the Jamaat-e-Islami. The Jamaat-e-Islami, which is a socio-political organization, was banned by the centre in 2019, and this is for the first time since 1987 they have chosen to contest any elections. Now, there are certain critics which have said that the Jamaat-e-Islami used to call them haram, prohibiting them, but now these elections for them have become halal, which means that it is good to go. Now, there's an interesting battle that is taking place in the first phase where 23 lakh plus voters are deciding the fate of 219 candidates who are in fray for today. With Bashir Loan in Bijbehara, Shanwani for CNBC TV 18.
Lenovo has announced plans to manufacture AI-enabled graphics processing units from its Puducherry facility. The company is planning to serve both the local markets as well as global markets from this Puducherry facility. Ritu Singh caught up with Lenovo's APAC president Amar Babu on the expansion plan.
So the 50,000 enterprise class servers that we would be manufacturing would be for use mostly in India. Okay. The 2,400 GPU servers we'll be exporting as well. So we are building end-to-end capabilities at the moment. So obviously that requires upgrades. We are upgrading. We are looking at enhancing our lines, our technology. We are making significant investments also in building additional areas. So it's going to be a big step, a leap in terms of the capability and the infrastructure in the center.
Over time, how much of this will be for the local market alone and how much will be for your global centers?
No, so we expect a good part, 60% of our GPU AI servers will be for exports.
You're one of the big beneficiaries, of course, of the PLI scheme for IT hardware. But given the recent developments last year, there was talks of the government looking to ban the import of certain, IT hardware. That was reversed and relaxed later. In terms of ease of doing business as a player that's been functioning in India, that's looking to manufacture in India, what do you make of the current business environment?
So I think we've made tremendous progress in our own manufacturing. Today, we not just manufacture our Motorola phones under PLI 1.0 for the country, we export our phones as well. We also have signed up for the PLI 2.0, and we're in the process of setting up the, ramping up the capability so that we'll start manufacturing. And these are all very attractive programs for the industry. And that's why we as a global player have taken advantage of it, leveraged it, and we are seeing good scaling. So, of course, the government did come up with certain processes. We've been following the process. It's been reasonably smooth. We haven't had any surprises to that effect.
And before we wrap, a CNBC TV 18 news break confirmed gaming platform Nazara Tech has announced plans to raise up to 900 crore rupees. The company has been on an acquisition spree of late. Rachna Dhanrajani, who broke that story, is joining us now for more. Rachna, how exactly does Nazara plan on using these proceeds?
Right, Ashmita, as you said, it is a CNBC TV 18 newsbreak confirmed. We had earlier reported that Nazara is looking to raise funds via a preferential issue, and one of the deals that they're going to deploy this capital towards is the recent Pokerbazi transaction. Now, Nazara has been on an M&A spree, and the latest one being the Pokerbazi transaction, which was close to 900 crore rupees. And a part of this fundraise will be used towards making payment for that transaction. But apart from that, the company is looking to focus on on foraying into the publishing business, as well as getting in the offline entertainment sector of gaming. Speaking of the offline entertainment gaming sector, it was just last month that Nazara received an LOI from the Committee of Creditors of Smash Entertainment, which is a Sachin Tendulkar backed company going through bankruptcy proceedings. So the first major acquisition that we could see with this newly raised capital would be towards Smash Entertainment, and further the company plans to foray into the publishing business, which is also expected to come into the light by the end of this year.
Right, Rachna, thanks a lot for those details. But that's all the time that we have. It's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.